Okay, guys, thanks again for joining. Today is all about the new ControlUp V5 version and obviously our new ControlUp Insights platform. So it's a big day for us here at ControlUp. We've been waiting for a long time to launch our new analytics product, and I'm really proud and glad that this day has arrived. We actually released the new ControlUp suite at the beginning of this month. As I said, it's exciting, an exciting period for us as a vendor. For a long time, we've been focusing on our real-time product, ControlUp Console. I guess some of you are familiar with that. And now with the release of the new ControlUp Insights platform, we actually have a full end-to-end, I think, a market-leading solution to monitor and manage any VDI and virtualization infrastructure. So that is why I'm calling it now the ControlUp Suite, because it consists both of the ControlUp real-time product, which enables you to do real-time performance management and monitoring. The brand new ControlUp Insights platform, which is a web-based historical reporting and analytics module. And obviously, we have the mobile app, which is currently used to get real-time push notifications whenever ControlUp detects issues in your environment. So, a quick overview of the agenda plan for today. Before I start with the agenda, I remind you guys to, I encourage you to ask questions. If you have questions about the architecture, the features we'll show during the live demo, or anything, please use the chat window or the question feature inside GoToMeeting to ask a question. We would love to answer that. And Amir is also with me in the webinar, and if he will see a repeating question, he will grab my attention and will try to answer it for the sake of all the attendees. So we'll start with a quick introduction about the company and where we're going. I then want to give you an overview of both the ControlUp real-time product architecture and the new ControlUp Insights architecture. I will cover the components and the way things are working in this latest release. Moving on, we'll start with the live demo of the ControlUp real-time console. We'll cover quickly some of the major use cases, performance management, troubleshooting slow logons. We have a new script-based action that enables you to verify that recommended MS patches for a Zen app are installed. So I want to show you that. And obviously, we'll cover some of the new features in V5. The next phase would be the Insights live demo. This is the main dish here. This is the new product. I think you'll be blown away. It's a great product. We have done a lot of work there, and we'll cover some of the main reports. And also, we'll give you a preview of what's to come in the next release. And again, questions, keep asking them all the time. Use the chat window, use questions. And if you end up with questions that are not suitable for GoToMeeting, please send an email to support@controlup.com or simply use the Contact Us form in our website. So, we have been striving to become the market leaders in both VDI and virtualization management and monitoring, and I think we did a very good job in the last few years, and the numbers speak for themselves. We're now actually deployed in more than 500 enterprise customer sites. Most of them are in the US and Western Europe, but we do see quite a few deployments in other territories, which is great. All kinds of segments, finance, healthcare, government, you name it. We probably have a few leading customers at each and every segment out there. Focusing on management and monitoring made us, be able to cater to most of the common requirements out there at customer sites. You can see some of the main use cases customers are using ControlUp for on screen. So obviously, we enable you guys to troubleshoot performance issues. We'll see it in the demo shortly. We have a strong emphasis on monitoring and optimizing the end user experience. I will cover some of that as well, but the fact is that you can not only watch for the end user experience metrics, but you can also act upon them. We offer remediation actions, we offer optimization steps, troubleshooting scripts, and we'll cover some of that shortly. Management is a strong and crucial part of ControlUp. So we're not only about monitoring and giving you visibility, but we also enable you to act upon the data, whether it's an historical incident, a benchmark, or a real-time alert. And finally, and this is now available via Insights, analyze historical trends and execute analytics to gain insights about your environment. So now, as I mentioned, together with ControlUp Insights, we have a full-blown end-to-end, and I would say a market-leading solution, everything related to VDI and virtualization management and monitoring. So let's start by covering the basic, the high-level architecture for both ControlUp Realtime and ControlUp Insights. So this is a high-level topology overview of the way ControlUp Realtime works. I'll cover that in briefly, and again, questions, please use the chat or send us a message later on. So the main component is obviously the ControlUp console itself. We'll see it shortly in the live demo. This is a single executable you download from our website and execute in your own on your own on-premises network. It's a .NET-based application which uses an in-RAM database to store the real-time performance and configuration metrics. From the console, the customer can deploy our lightweight agent to any Windows workload. This includes all the leading VDI solutions like Citrix XenApps and Desktop, Horizon 5, Horizon 6, Microsoft Native RDS, Azure Remote App, and AWS Workspaces. So everything is supported and covered. And we also support physical and virtual Windows servers. So if you want to manage your old physical Exchange box or your supporting infrastructure like the connection brokers, the web servers, everything can be added to the console using our lightweight agents. We also support hypervisor monitoring. This is, of course, done without any agents. We're actually remote querying the web services API for both VMware vCenter 5 and 6 and Xen servers 6.2, 6.5, all the latest versions. We're actually adding support for Hyper-V this year. So the next ControlUp version, ControlUp 6, will add support for Hyper-V. It's planned for late Q2 this year. The second component you should deploy in your production environment is the ControlUp Monitor service. This is actually a Windows service which should be running on a dedicated Windows server VM. It's quite similar to the console. It's also using the in-RAM database to store the real-time data. The main difference is that this is a Windows service running 24/7 in the background. So there is no need to open the console to enable 24/7 reporting, alerting, and monitoring. And specifically for Insights, the monitor service is the component which is in charge of data upload to ControlUp Insights. So it's actually a crucial, or I would say a mandatory component to enable ControlUp Insights. Now, when you're using our online, or what we call enterprise deployment mode, the back-end ControlUp components are actually hosted in AWS. We have a Geo cluster deployed across a few AWS regions, and this is where we store the back-end databases, which mainly include the organization configuration database and the historical incidents database. Everything is fully encrypted. We use a per customer encryption key. It's highly available, highly secure. Most of our customer base are using the online deployment, obviously. It's important to notice that we do have an on-premises version as well. So you can actually install the backend databases on a local Windows server in your network if for some reason your policies or for compliance reasons you cannot work with a cloud-based solution. Right. So this is again a quick overview of the real-time architecture. Moving on to Insights. So here on the bottom left side, you see the same ControlUp Monitor service component we saw in the previous slide. So as mentioned, this is where all the real-time performance data from hypervisors and VMs is reaching to. And in order to enable Insights, we actually have a pretty robust upload mechanism that is in charge of feeding the database. So the way it works, we continuously write the real-time data to local activity files on the actual monitor server hard drive. And once every 30 minutes, we upload the data to Amazon S3, which is our secure storage area in the cloud. Again, everything is encrypted, both in transit and where it's sitting there, either on the hard drive or on the cloud repositories. Again, upload is being executed every 30 minutes, and we have a digest process which actually takes the raw data and feeds the database, so you guys can actually query it. And currently, it happens once an hour, which means that you should expect something like a 2 hours delay when you're actually seeing the historical data in Insights. Right. The other part of the Insights architecture includes the web servers. So we have again cloud-based web servers which actually hold the insights.controlup.com portal. And this is where from there we do two things. First, we execute queries against the database to allow you to actually see the data. And secondly, we expose the UI itself, the reports and the analytics queries. Currently, the only fully supported browser is Chrome, so make sure you use Chrome when you access insights.controlup.com. We are adding support for IE as well, but it will take a while. Okay, moving on to the live demo part. We'll start with the console, and then we move on to ControlUp Insights quite quickly. Right, so this is the main ControlUp real-time console. This is the main screen. Quick orientation before we cover the actual use cases. So here on the left side, you will see the actual objects you're managing. And as I mentioned earlier, we support basically two data sources, right? So one is the hypervisors, again, VMware Zen Server and soon Hyper-V as well. It's very easy to add hypervisors to ControlUp. Simply click on the Add Hypervisor button. In the case of VMware, you should simply point ControlUp to your vCenter web service SDK, provide valid, even read-only credentials, and that's it. From that moment on, we will query the vCenter API and get real-time performance and configuration metrics. The same also applies for Zen Server, by the way. The other type of data source or object we're managing is Windows VMs or physical servers. So as you can see here, we have quite a few environments in our lab. Again, we support Citrix Zen App 5, 6, 7, Citrix Zen Desktop, including the latest Zen Desktop 7.7, whether it's running on RDS 2012.02 or on Windows 10. All the Horizon View latest releases, so Horizon View 5 and 6, and obviously supporting infrastructure. So, file servers, PVS servers, connection brokers, license servers, everything can be added to the same interface. Now, once the objects are added and connected, the main screen will show you the different views, including the real-time performance and configuration metrics. We're starting here with the host view, right? So this view will show you the actual physical hypervisors or hosts you're managing in your environment. In my case, I currently have 4 hosts. We here have 2 ESXi 5.5 hosts and 2 Zen Server 6.5 hosts. You can see some of the metrics on screen. The main thing to notice here is the stress level column. This is kind of a health index, which takes into effect the real-time metrics and the current weight, and decides what's the current stress level. So it's pretty apparent here that ES601 is suffering from an I/O issue. You can see that the I/O load is very high. It's actually above 10,000 IOPS, right? So the I/O usage is high. The latency is obviously affected from it, and probably users who are working inside this host are suffering from bad experience. So I want to show you how in a matter of seconds, ControlUp can help you determine the root cause of this issue and solve it in real time. So I actually drilled down into the host itself. On the grid below the host, I will see a list of VMs currently running on this host, and it's pretty clear, right? I can also sort the grid, obviously, but if I sort it based on some of the I/O metrics, you will quickly see that that CORDSH01 is the VM causing the I/O issue. Now, by the way, the columns you're seeing right now, these are host-based columns. They're coming from VMware. But since we have aggregated data both from agents and hosts, I can go ahead and switch to the detailed I/O column preset, and I will show the end user 2 types of metrics. One are Windows agent-based metrics, like disk reads and writes, and the other types of metrics are virtual read and write IOPS. Okay, so this unique view which combines metrics from 2 different data sources is a great indication, or I would say a great troubleshooting tool to figure out performance issues, right? So we can see that the I/O usage is happening both from the Windows point of view and the hypervisor point of view. We can now drill down into the RDS VM itself, and initially we'll show you all the user sessions that are logged on into this VM. right? This is an RDS 2012-02 server, so we have obviously more than one user here. For user sessions, we have excellent metrics like the metadata, which includes the logon time, the client name, the client IP address, branch name, all kinds of statistics, and obviously real-time performance metrics. So in this case, we can see that my own account here, Y is the account causing the IO issue on the entire host, right? Pretty easy. Now we can drill down into the session itself. And finally, we will show you a list of processes running inside this session. And again, metadata like the PID, the command line, and obviously real-time performance metrics. So here again, it's pretty clear that a single process, DynamoEXE, is causing the IO issue on the entire host, obviously affecting dozens of end users. Okay, we can actually take it one step further than that. If we will right-click on the process or the session, we can execute a built-in action called get session screenshot. Depending on the customer privacy policy, this could be enabled only when the user approves this. This is a lab environment. I'm just going to get a screenshot without asking for permissions. So we'll execute this, and the result would be showing the ControlUp admin the actual end user screen in real time. Okay, so this is the actual session which is causing the issue, and now it's pretty clear. We have more data about what's DynamoEXE and what's happening here. So essentially, in this case, me, this could be a rogue admin in real life scenarios, is running, an IO stress test against maybe one of these new data stores, obviously creating an IO issue for everyone. So now that I know exactly which app is causing the issue, I know that this is not a business critical app, I can actually right-click the process. And again, I mentioned that we're not only about visibility, we're also about management. I can go ahead and terminate the process and effectively solve the issue in this case. Okay, so this was one quick use case: performance management, performance troubleshooting, drill down, and in real life it would take you a mere seconds to figure out what's going on. I want to quickly move to user experience and troubleshooting slow logons. So let's click on the sessions view here. The sessions view is a great place to see all users currently connected to your environment, and we show here again all kinds of metrics, but we also show a few KPIs which can really let you know what's the current experience of that session. So one of them is obviously the logon duration metric. This will give you a clear indication of how long it took this end user to log on to the system. Right, we start measuring from the moment the user successfully authenticated until the published desktop is available or the published app was launched. Besides that, we also have the session latency average, which is a very crucial indication of user experience. We support both HDX and PCOIP latency. So, if you kind of combine the session latency, the logon duration, and the resource consumption footprint, you get a very clear indication of the end user's user experience. Now, in regards to slow logons, what can we do besides showing you what's going on? So, first we'll show you the overall logon duration, but if you scroll to the right, you will see a breakdown of the overall logon duration process. In this case, we can see that the group policy processing, we actually know it's the main culprit here for the slow logon. Okay, we also support showing you the profile load time, the actual desktop shell load time if it's a desktop session, and the other column is kind of a helper column which indicates if you have issues in other components which are not related to group policy, profile, or desktop. One of the coolest things in ControlUp Real-Time is the ability to run script-based actions, right? So a customer can actually import his own PowerShell scripts into ControlUp, or in addition to that, you can click on the script-based action button here and see a list of community actions he can download and use in his own environment. Okay, so one of the most, I would say, popular scripts we have is let's see here, for example, the Analyze GPO Extension Load Time SPA. So it's being used in almost 500 customer sites, and this will help us figure out exactly which group policies are causing the slow logon. So let's go ahead and execute this action. Analyze GPO Extension Load Time against this specific session here. By the way, one of the new features with V5 is this enhanced output screen. It's a bit more similar to PowerShell. It's working faster, and it's pretty great. So again, we see here that the real-time column mentions 64-second processing time. You can see here it's pretty much the same. And here we'll see a table showing us which extensions were loaded and how long it took to process them. So here it's pretty clear, right? The group policy drive maps extension is causing the issue, almost 50 seconds processing time, and we can even see which GPO actually triggered that. So from here, it's a simple matter of sending this screenshot to the GPO team, or actually, if you guys are managing the GPO, editing this policy and seeing what's wrong with the drive maps. Okay, moving on quickly here because I do want to save enough time for insights. Another feature we added. Let's do something real quick here. Let's look only on 2012 R2 servers. Okay, I can go here, make sure that grouping is enabled, and then I can drag any column. Let's drag the operating system column in here, and let's focus on 2012 R2 servers. Okay, great. Now we can select, basically all of them here. And one of the new scripts we created recently, and this is an interesting one. This is something we did together with Trond. The Citrix CDP is a great guy. We actually had a nice webinar with him 2 days ago, and he helped us create a script that will tell us if Microsoft, the recommended Microsoft patches for XenApp are actually installed. Let's see if we can run it on a few relevant servers here. Okay, so it would be this script here. It's already published to the community store, and this will actually tell us what's installed, and if something is missing, it will tell us exactly which patches are missing out of the entire list. Okay, so this is the output. Again, we're running it against 2 servers, and you can see a different list for each target here. And this will tell you exactly out of the published recommended hotfix list what is missing, so you can go ahead and act upon this data. So I think it's pretty cool, and again, you can run it against an entire farm of RDS servers or XenApp servers and get a quick indication of what's missing in regards to the best practices from Citrix or Microsoft. Okay, finally, I want to show you a few new things we added in V5. So first, we added support for monitoring the Citrix server license server. Okay, so the way it works, we're actually automatically recognizing the license server service. So you simply need to add the license server to the configuration. And once you do that, you will notice a new tab here called Citrix licenses. And this will show you in real time what's the current license usage on your license server. You can also create alerts if the license usage percentage is higher than the specific thresholds. So, if the license usage hits 90-95%, you can get a real-time email alert or mobile push notification to your native ControlUp app running on your iPhone or Android device. We added some pretty cool session columns here. So, for example, the branch name column is pretty cool because it enables you to see what's the actual branch the session originated from. This is actually based on the client IP, and it's configurable, so you can actually configure ranges of IPs and match them to the branch name. As mentioned before, we added latency columns, which are based on the average latency, which is pretty great. And specifically for PCOIP, we also have the bandwidth usage now available. We're also planning to add HDX bandwidth usage. This will come in V6. And finally, for V5, we added a pretty interesting metric. Let me show you here. Right, so the metric we added is the non-paged pool memory metric. Now, as some of you may know, if you're using Citrix PVS 7 and you're using the RAM write cache option, so you're hosting your write cache data in RAM, Windows is actually using the non-paged pool memory to store this RAM, to store this cache data. And now we provide an excellent way to both see in real time what's the RAM cache size, and in addition, you can get notifications if the size is mirroring or crossing your configured size. Right? In my environment, for example, the cache size is configured for 1 gigabyte. So you see everything here is nice and green because all servers have not yet reached their full RAM cache potential. Okay, that's pretty much it in regards to the real-time console. Obviously, we can go on and on, but I do want to move on to the Insights platform. Okay, so there you go, right? This is the brand new ControlUp Insights web-based solution. So as mentioned, we're currently, we're fully supporting Chrome. So make sure you use that to log in. Now, what I'm showing you right now, this is actually the pre-production environment here in our labs. I'm doing this because I want to show you some of the new features, but probably 95% of what I'm showing you here is actually available in the existing production release. The version you're seeing here, which includes a brand new report, the app usage details, should be available in a couple of weeks to everyone. By the way, this would be it's a good time to mention that since this is a fully hosted solution, it's a SaaS service. We will be, it enables us to actually add more reports, add more functionality in very short time ranges, right? It's a bit similar to probably Citrix Workspace Cloud or other SaaS solutions you're familiar with. So hopefully we'll be able to offer new content hopefully once a month. Right. So a bit about the platform itself before we're looking at some of the reports. So again, the platform it's web-based. That's obvious. It enables you to see data up to 1 year back in time. It actually depends on the license level you guys have, right? So we actually have 3 tiers. The Pro enables you to look back on 1 day of activity. The Enterprise tier will let you see data up to 1 month. And the Platinum tier will let you go back all the way up to 1 year. So that's one important thing here. In each and every report, you can click on the presets to actually see data back in time, back in a day, a week, a month, a year. And if you want to see granular time range, you can click here and actually select something more specific, like let's say Tuesday to Monday or even specific hours and dates. We have some additional features. Currently, the export feature is only available for the session activity report. We'll see it in a sec. But we are going to have support for automated reports and email-based reports. So you will be able to configure automatic reports, let's say, that will reach your mailbox once a week. One other point I want to mention here before we actually start looking at the reports themselves, we are working on an on-premises Insights version. It will take a while. Hopefully, it will be available by the end of Q2 this year. But again, I encourage everyone who can to start using the online version. It will always be the most up-to-date and fully featured version of the two. Okay, let's start with the actual reports demo. So first, I want to show you something which is a bit similar to what you've seen in the real-time console. The ability to troubleshoot performance issues, but this time from an historical perspective. So this is the host trends reports, right? This will show you back in time how your hypervisors behave from a CPU, RAM, I/O, and network perspective. So we're now looking specifically on our VMware cluster. We're looking on one line portfolio, which means that each line here represents an average of all the hypervisors you're monitoring. And these are the different reports. So this is the average CPU usage over the last 24 hours. This is the average RAM usage for the last 24 hours, the I/O utilization, and the I/O latency, and obviously the network usage. So all of these are exposed here. Now let's look here, for example. You know what? Let's look on the last week worth of data. Because we did have an I/O issue here a few days ago, and I want to show you how we can figure out what's going on from Insights. So I'm scrolling down to the I/O utilization, chart. And you can see here that a few days ago, we have a pretty high peak on our VMware environments. We actually reached an average usage of more than 5,000 apps. So I can go ahead here and click on the data point itself to get more details. So this is pretty great. This will show me the top hosts that actually contribute to the I/O issue. Okay. In the current release, you have to manually go and select the host and look at them. Here in the new release, I can actually click on the hyperlink here, And Insights will take me automatically to the ES601 report. Okay, so again, we're dealing with the IO issue. Here we can see the peak from the specific host perspective. And now again, we can click on one of the data points, and this is pretty cool. This will show us the top 5 VMs, right? The top 5 computers that actually caused the IO peak from, from the historical perspective. Okay, so here it's pretty clear that again, a single VM, CRDSH01, was the one VM causing the issue. Okay, so now I can go ahead and click on the CRDSH link here because I want to see more data. I want to see why this VM used so much IOPS at that specific time range. So now Insights is actually switching to the VMs or the computer trends, and it's automatically selected CRDSH01 because this is the VM, obviously the VM that was causing the issue. So let's scroll back to the IO utilization. We actually show both the total chart, the reads, and the writes. By the way, you can always click on a chart name and either hide or display it in the chart. So I can, for example, hide the reads and writes, so I can focus only on the total, which is pretty nice. And again, it's available for any chart-based report we have here. So here on the data itself, when we're looking on the past 7 days, we have a data point every 30 minutes. Okay, and since we show the mean, max, and average values, we do not lose any data. If you're looking on the past 24 hours, we actually have a data point every 5 minutes. I'll show it to you in the next report. Okay, so now we want to figure out, why this VM is using so much IOPS in this specific time range. So again, we can click on the data points, and just like before, we'll show you the top 5 consumers. Okay, now before that, we have seen the VMs. And what we're seeing now is actually the processes, right? We're looking at a single VM, and we are seeing the actual processes that caused the issue back in time. And this is pretty great, right? This is, will show you the actual process name, the user associated with the process, and obviously the IO stats themselves. So now we know that a few days ago, again, it's my own Naughty account, I was running DynamoEXE, again, the IO stress test tool, causing an IO issue for a few hours. And this is applicable for any scenario you have in your environment. So you will be able to see why you have issues on your VDI environment, your database servers, web servers. We actually have a customer using this to figure out why they had performance issues against some BI servers every night. They used this tool, and they actually saw that an internal backup process, which they weren't familiar with, was running at a specific time, causing IO issues, obviously affecting the query performance time. So it's pretty great. By the way, you can go here and see more data on the user session, but I want to show you this report from a different context. So just to summarize, from a system health or performance standpoint, we currently expose the hypervisors and the VMs statistics. You can see the trends over time, you can see the peaks, and you can see who is causing the peak. So all of this is available right now in ControlUp Insights. Session activity. So let's start with the session count report. Okay, this is a pretty interesting report. This shows you the peak concurrent number of sessions over time in your environment. So this is our lab environment. You can see it's pretty, it's pretty small. We see here that the numbers go probably up to like 30 or 40 sessions running on our lab. The green line here, by the way, is the number of connected VMs we're monitoring. And the reason we're showing these two metrics in the same chart is to give you a perspective of what's the user session count comparing to the number of connected VMs, of managed VMs in your environment. Right. So, for example, if you suddenly see a spike in user sessions or a drop, you will be able to correlate this with the addition or removing of managed computers from the ControlUp configuration. Now, let's look, for example, on the last 24 hours worth of activity, and here you will be able to see that we actually have a data point every 5 minutes, right? So this is, for example, let's look on today, right? This is this morning at 7 p.m., 7 a.m., 7:10, 7:15. So every 5 minutes we have a data point, and it also includes the mean, max, and average values. So you have all the data, you're not losing anything, although we are we are crunching the real-time numbers to a 5 minutes interval packets. Now, if we scroll down a bit, we will see the same statistics, but this time we'll show you the distribution based on the session state. Okay, so we actually show in each point in time, we'll show you how many active sessions were connected, how many of them were idle, and how many of them were actually disconnected at that specific time point. Okay, by the way, the idle time is based on a 30 minutes interval, which means that once a session didn't use keyboard or mouse for 30 minutes, we consider it to be idle. This can be configured based on a registry key at the agent side. Now, I think this is a great insight, because if, like in my lab environment, you see that most of the sessions are actually disconnected or idle, it's probably high time to optimize your idle and disconnect timeouts, and thus, gain some performance and efficiency in your VDI or RDS environments. Now, the next report is the user session activity. This is actually quite similar to the sessions view inside ControlUp, but this is from an historical point of view. Okay, so here we can see that during the last 24 hours, we had 56 unique sessions working against our lab. If we'll go, for example, to look on the last month of activity, we'll see that we had almost 1,000 unique sessions in our environment. So this is a great way to see who logged onto your environment, what were they running, what was their experience, and you can also do quite a few sorting and filtering activities in here. Okay, before that, some of the columns we exposed, you can see here actually a list of all the available columns. So most of these columns are also available in the real-time console. One thing, a few things which are different, for example, would be the session duration. Right here, we can actually show you for how long the session was running. Max latency. This is pretty great to spot latency issues. You can sort this report based on any column, and in this case, we can see that we have quite a few sessions in the last month that actually suffered from quite high peaks of HDX latency. And finally, we can show you distribution in percentage of the idle, active, and disconnect time. All right, this is a great way to see, to find those either those really hardworking users like these guys here who were probably active 100% of the time, or see, for example, who was idle most of the time. Again, it's useful for security, HR, and all kinds of other use cases. Let's now, let's go ahead and I want to show you how we can actually drill down to one historical user session and get a lot of insights about that session. So let's go ahead and filter the list to show us only my own specific session. So I'm typing the username here and click on filter. So this should show me only my own sessions back in the last month. And I also want to only see VMs that contains the 2012 string. Oops, sorry. The 2012 string in them. Okay, so contains 2012 filter. This should only show me sessions that were running on servers that contains the 2012 source string. So here we go. I had actually 6 historical sessions during the last month. Now, in addition to seeing the metadata in here, we can actually drill down to the user session details to gain more insight about the historical session. So let's go ahead and drill down into this session here. It was actually logged on yesterday from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, so this is an additional report we have, the user session details. This is actually one of my favorite reports. It includes a lot of data and enables you to figure out exactly what's going on and probably answer the most annoying question, why was my session slow, yesterday? And let me show you how we can do that. So, up here we have the metadata. This is the same info you see on the previous reports. But below that, we will show you a few very interesting metrics. So first, we'll show you the state behavior over time. Okay, so we can see that this session started as an active session, and for a while it switched between idle and active states. Until finally, 2 days ago at 1 p.m., it switched to a disconnected state and remained that way until it actually logged off. Oh, actually, sorry, we have a few more states here, and finally it logged off, yes, at Jan 26 at 10 p.m. So this is one great thing. Another thing is we'll show you the client information, again, over time. So we can see the IP address the session was connected from, the physical endpoint name, and if it's a Citrix session, we'll show the receiver version. So you can even see here if someone, started working from a home PC and later on connected from a mobile device or something else. And finally, in the Gantt-based report, we'll show you all the processes, including their start and end time, that were running inside the session. So this is a Zen, this is a Zen Desktop 7.6 session, so we can see some of the Citrix components running here throughout the session lifecycle. We can see that initially the user was running a few browser apps, in this case, iExplore. We can see Adobe Flash running, so probably the user was viewing some video content here inside the browser. And we also see the I/O meter running, which explains the I/O peak we've seen before. Now this is great, right? You can see exactly what's going on. And if you scroll down, you can actually see in parallel the resource utilization on both the hosting computer and the session itself. So now let's zoom out a bit. I want to show you this in something like one screen here. So again, this is pretty awesome. We can actually correlate processes and things happening inside a session with performance metrics, right? So you can see here that during the initial few hours, the CPU utilization was very high. And again, just like before, we can click on one of the data points and we can see which processes actually caused that. Okay, so let's see what was causing high CPU usage during the first 2 hours where the session was running. We have a hint here, but we will actually see the data. Okay, so let's see if we can zoom here for a sec. Oh, you know what? Let me zoom in again from here. Sorry, let's run it again. Okay, so now you want to figure out why the session was using so much CPU during the first few hours, and we see here exactly what was causing that. So again, the browser itself consumed a lot of CPU, and the Citrix graphic engine was also a large contributor. And this explains correlates exactly with what we have seen in the process view, right? We've seen here a few browser windows and the Adobe Flash running. So obviously the user was seeing some kind of a video inside the HDX session, which was causing this issue. And again, we also have RAM, I/O, and latency reports. So you can see here the high spike in I/O, and just like we've seen before, but this time from a different perspective, we can see that, again, it will probably be the I/O meter and the DynamoVXC process causing the I/O issue in this specific session. Okay, so this is a very, very detailed report, and you finally have full visibility over the session life cycle to see exactly what was going on from a state, process, and performance perspective. Okay, moving on to the logon duration report. This is a pretty cool report. This will show you, the state of the logon duration in your environment. So a few things we show you. First, and this is probably the most important metric, we are now looking on 1 week worth of data, and this is the average logon duration based on all the samples we had over the last week. Okay, so in our environment, the average logon duration is 30 seconds. We can actually choose different silos and see if something is different. Let's look specifically on XenApp 6.5. Okay, so now we'll see the average logon duration in that specific silo. A bit higher than the overall average. Let's look on Horizon View for a sec. Let's look on View 6. Let's see if there is anything different there. So in this case, since this is pretty dramatic, right? But in View, it seems like the logon duration is much, much lower. This is mainly because we're not running all the group policies there. Okay, so again, useful information. You can look on silos. If you're doing migrations, you can compare it to different silos or environments. And if you look on the actual chart, you will see for each data point, you will see the samples, and you will see, again, the average logon duration for that specific sample, the max duration, and the mean duration. Now, this is a very interesting and I think innovative concept. What we're doing here, actually, we're taking all the anonymized statistics from our customer base, right? The actual logon times, right? Without any connections to usernames or organization names. And we calculate what we call a community benchmark. So this is a clear indication of what's the, I would say, what's the normal or what's the common logon duration average across our entire customer base. So, finally you can get an answer to the question, what is an acceptable logon duration rate? Is it good? Is it bad? Am I doing, how am I doing against the competition? Now, in this initial release, we're showing a global benchmark, which is essentially an average from everyone. But we are going to expand that and basically show you, benchmarks which are more, more focused on your own environment. So we'll show you different sizes, different industries, so you'll be able to compare yourself against, for example, the logon duration average in the healthcare industry for large organizations, for example. Now, if we will scroll down, we will see the distribution of user logons, which might or may not affect the logon times. And below that, we'll see the different parts of the logon duration, and we'll see, again, the average of our own environment against the community benchmark. So profiles, group policy, test upload time, and obviously the other components running inside the logon process. Okay, let's move on to the final report I want to show you. This is actually a preview. So as I mentioned, this is a pre-prod version. It should be out there in a few weeks. And here we actually expose a new report called App Usage Details. Now, this is pretty great. I know that a lot of customers are looking for that. This will enable you to actually pick an application, pick an app running in your environment, and see two main statistics. One, what's the peak concurrent usage of the app over time, and how many users are actually connected to it, and the actual user names. Okay, so let's go ahead and select a specific app. Let's see if we can search for Word, for example. So this would be the WinWord, the Word 2003 app. And now we're looking on the last week worth of data. Now, it might take a few seconds. We're actually working on enhancing the query time here. But once this query will finish, we'll show you two things. We'll show you the peak concurrent usage of that specific app. And below that, we'll show you which users are actually working against that. Okay, in this case, it's a lab environment. We only have one user running this app. So it's not really interesting, but this is the fact, right? And below that, we'll see the actual username. Let's see if we can select a more useful app. Let's see, for example, Microsoft Explorer. Okay, so again, we'll show you both the usage trends, the peak concurrent instances over time, and the table that show you exactly which users are actually launching that. You will also be able to export the actual report to a CSV file, which is great for license tracking and usage. Okay, so again, here we have a data point every 30 minutes, and we'll show you, again, the peak concurrent usage and which users are actually using that in every data point. Now, beyond this report, we are planning to add additional reports in the next few months. We'll add latency reports, licensing, client versions, additional system health reports, and best practice reports. So stay tuned. This is a live dynamic process. We are working hard to adding more content as time goes by. And we are also working in parallel on supporting insights in on-prem environments. Okay, guys, I think we covered most of the major features in Insights and in the real-time console. I hope you get the same sense as I am that this is a full-blown end-to-end solution to monitor any virtualized or VDI-based environment. And now that we have all the platforms in place.